And welcome back to Beerfield Fantasy Football Shots. I am your host at Hot BFF with two P's, and we are here to talk top shelf and well performers for week 2. So top shelf, we're going to talk about some guys that maybe were middling that blew up, what their outlook is. So yes, I know like Michael Crabtree had 3 touchdowns. That was expected. So we're going to talk about some guys you didn't really expect. They're like, hey, you did a thing. And then we're going to talk some guys that we expected to perform that really left us feeling hungover, just like cheap well drinks on a bar night. Before we get started, you can follow me on Twitter at HotBFF with 2 P's. You can follow the podcast, Beerfield Fantasy Football. We're on Twitter at BeerfieldFF. You can check out the podcast, released Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays. We're on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. Anywhere else that you could think to find podcast, we should be there. If not, let us know. We'll get it there. You can follow my co-host at Nick Sparts and at TheoryBFF also on Twitter. Shows on Facebook and Instagram, Beerfield Fantasy Football. Oh, we're on YouTube too, which you've obviously figured out because you're watching me ramble on. But please subscribe, like the page. We're here 6 days a week with news episodes. We've got DFS picks on Fridays. We've got waiver wires on Tuesdays. The Top Shelf Well episode, which we're doing right now on Mondays. We've got in and outs on Saturdays. We've got live streams that'll go down here on Sunday morning. So all kinds of good stuff and some extra content coming your way. And quick, digestible, watch it while you're pooping pieces. All right. So, getting into the top shelf performers this week. At quarterback, we have Trevor Siemian. Trevor Siemian's going to take it home for quarterback. Second straight week of performance and actually looking good. He had 4 touchdowns, was efficient in the win. Yardage, not necessarily there. Denver was able to run the ball. The defense was able to keep it in check. But if that's the formula that they're using, pass early, get a lead, and then hold it with the defense, that's going to look good for Trevor Siemian. Touchdown upsides there. He's a week-to-week streamer at this point. I don't think he's an every-week start yet. Mostly because I would like to see how he does in a shootout or does against some higher-end pass defenses. So he's still a little bit matchup dependent. But he definitely looks like a quarterback that's taking the next step from last year. At running back, staying with the Broncos, the aforementioned C.J. Anderson, 25 for 116 and a touchdown. Jamal Charles for the second straight week carried the ball only 10 times. This is a team that wants to lean a little bit heavier on the run than the pass. They will pass the ball when they need to. They're going to take a balanced approach, though. So C.J. Anderson's active in the run game. He's active in the pass game. Don't expect him to be game scripted out. If you're a C.J. Anderson owner, he is a must starter. Yes, Jamal Charles is taking about 10 touches a game, but C.J. is still getting 20 to 25. So he's locked and loaded running back 2 every week. At wide receiver, J.J. Nelson answering some of the Cardinals' questions. 5 for 120 and a touchdown. He's somebody I mentioned last week as a possible pickup. John Brown is going to miss week 3 again. So J.J. Nelson, if he's still sitting out there, go grab him. Him and John Brown are pretty much fighting with each other for that second receiver spot. But the Cardinals do run 3 wide receivers. So as long as John Brown isn't on the field, J.J. Nelson is relevant, and he's got that big play ability and that ability to potentially perform and to go off. So if you need a wide receiver in a pinch, grab him. Even if you don't, he's a good bench stash as long as John Brown is hurt. Tight end, Zach Ertz, proving that he's probably going to be the safest tight end this year, going 8 for 97. Again, no touchdown, but especially in PPR leagues, if you're 8 for 97, it's still a very, very solid day from your tight end. Very productive. Carson Wentz likes him. They're going to try to get him the ball and use him to move the ball. Even with Alshon Jeffrey super active in the passing game, it looks like Zach Ertz is, he's going to maintain his value. So if you need a safe tight end play, Zach Ertz is your guy. And then Tampa Bay. So they had 4 forced turnovers against the Bears and 18 points allowed. They're my defense special team top shelf performer of the week. They looked really good. A side effect of Mike Glennon looking bad, maybe, but they were able to do some things. They look better than Atlanta's defense. So keep an eye on them against the Vikings this week to kind of see what they really are. This is a wait and see for me, but they look good against the run. They look good against the pass. Like they could generate turnovers anyway. So if this defense is this good, this team's going to be dangerous. But keep an eye on them. They may be a matchup dependent streamer. And now on to the less fun guys that have us feeling hungover on this Monday with their cheapness and nasty play. At quarterback, we have Russell Wilson, 23 of 39, 198, and a touchdown. Touchdown kind of helped give him a little bit of floor, but this was a massive underperformance against the 49ers, I believe they were playing. So this was just not a good-looking game. Wilson should have feasted in this. He didn't. We'll have more on the Seattle offense here in a couple players. At running back, Jordan Howard, he only went for 7 yards. He is dealing with a shoulder injury. Might have been affecting him more than it was not. I think he'll be okay once he's healthy, but as long as he's not healthy, you're going to have to temper your expectations there. I'm not sure how good Tampa Bay's run defense really is. On paper, they don't look like they should be that great. They might be improved. We'll see that in the weeks to come. But Jordan Howard, another underwhelming week. At wide receiver, Amari Cooper was playing the Jets. He was 4 for 33 with no touchdowns. Meanwhile, Crabtree on the other side went for 3 touchdowns and absolutely blew up. This was a game that Cooper should have been able to feast. He should have been open, and they just weren't looking his way. Cooper will be fine, but it just kind of shows the up and down nature of what you're going to get with him. And if you're expecting that all-out breakout, as long as Crabtree's there, I don't think it's going to happen. So more of the same from what we've seen with Cooper the last 2 years. At tight end, Jimmy Graham went 1 reception for 1 yard. Jimmy Graham is almost a consensus amongst all experts. Top 10 tight end, and he's not been able to do it. I think Jimmy Graham's problem is a Russell Wilson problem, which is an offensive line problem. But if you're a Jimmy Graham owner, I'd be looking to stash him on your bench if you can and stream another tight end until they get this right. If you don't have the ability to do that, or you don't have the bench spots to do that, I guess you can keep rolling with him. I don't really want to drop somebody with that amount of talent, but if this goes on for another week, that's the position we're going to be in. So I would either try to pick somebody up to start over him this week or kind of hold and wait and see. And finally, the defense special teams that underwhelmed was Jacksonville. Jaguars was up against the Titans. They only had 1 sack coming off of a 10-sack performance. So I think that even though Tennessee's offense is supposed to be good, that you were expecting a little bit more out of Jacksonville, they still project to be a top 10 defense over the year. I'm not really sure what went wrong with that. But again, keep them matchup dependent. They've got another okay matchup against the Ravens where they should be relatively safe. I don't expect them to explode, but they should be pretty safe. But you're just going to have to keep an eye on that Jacksonville defense to find out what they really are. They're a young, up-and-coming team, especially on that side of the ball. So they're gonna take some time to gel. I expect them to be really good eventually. I think you got a taste of what they could be in week 1, but week 2, a little bit of a letdown from that performance. And that's all I got for Top Shelf and Well for this week. Tune in next week where I'll have all the reflections on week 3, who performed, who did not perform. I'll also be back with you on Friday with weekly DFS picks. And I believe Dan Thury will be with you tomorrow to give you news and waiver wire options. So be sure to tune into that, and we will catch you then. See ya.